that social work is an helping organization. Even you as a social worker, when practicing social work, there are certain ethics and rules of social work that you need to take into consideration while carrying out the activities of social work in order to endanger yourself as a social worker.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Any other contribution? Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
This is Marcus.
Okay, please.
In the course of discussing, you made mention, you clarified something about empathy and sympathy.
Yeah.
So you made mention that in the profession, it's empathy that is really needed for us to use in carrying out the professional social work professional ethics, and not the sympathy, so that we might not, instead of us solving the problem, and we that person that just a kind of bring up the sympathy might be even the person that needed help, whereas we're supposed to provide help. So this is one of the things we discussed with us yesterday.
Beautiful.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. You also let us know the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Made us to understand that wisdom is practical application of knowledge, that we should not be, we should keep our emotion in check, so that our will not be overwhelmed with our emotion and be carried away in such a way that will not be able to do our work effectively. And you also mentioned that we need to harmonize knowledge and wisdom in such a way that we'll be able to build the well-being of clients. Thank you, sir.
That's beautiful. I appreciate the fact that we could take something home, and not just taking something home, we could still remember what was taught. That shows that knowledge was gained yesterday. We go again today, and we hope that we will try to make it practical so that it will be easier to stick with you. You see that, you know that, or it will interest you to know that as a profession, like I said yesterday, social work is scientific and it's practical. It's not abstract. So whatever concepts we introduce or try to explain, you try to see how it applies in real life. That is how you can be assisted to understand how it works and how it applies to real life situation. Okay. For example, we'll be talking about code of ethics today. And in a general term, code of ethics is just a statement that expresses ethical values, that expresses obligations, that highlight goals and objectives of a particular profession. That was why yesterday, one of you asked the question, if code of ethics or ethical code can be referred to as code of conduct. And I said, well, yes, but coming from the social work standpoint, it goes beyond code of conduct because it applies to other aspects of the profession that does not necessarily have to do with the professional's code of conduct or behavior, right? So the ethics on its own, it's just a statement that tells us, okay, this is what the profession is all about. This is what the position of the profession in this situation, in such situation, and in that situation. And these statements are a symbol of commitment that serves to be a witness to a professional's promise that he or she is willing to uphold the values and the ethical obligations as expressed in the code. So apart from it being just a mere statement, it's a statement that carries weight, a statement of purpose, obligation, values, and goals of the profession. It also serves as a witness that yes, you that profess to be a social worker, is expected to practice in line with the expounded rules or expounded regulations stipulated in the Code of Ethics. And in this Code of Ethics, it clearly states the profession's values and explain why they are in terms of what we ought to do in order to promote the public good and what we must avoid in order to prevent harm to the public. So you see that this Code of Ethics is not just about how we render services that are beneficial to our clients and to the public. It also serves as a protection to us. Although this ethical code do not guarantee ethical behavior, the fact that there are ethical codes in place does not mean automatically a social worker is expected to have a good behavior. That is where hard work comes in. Remember yesterday we talked about use of self or self-awareness. You need to understand your abilities. You need to understand your capacities and to know what is expected of you as a social worker and try to make some necessary adjustment to adapt, to fit into the profession. That is when it becomes easier and possible for you to follow this ethical behavior or to develop in you this ethical behavior that guarantees or that makes it possible for you to practice as a professional, ethically as a professional social worker. And it's also worthy of note that the fact that you're following these laid down procedures or ethical conduct, code of conduct, does not mean that it will solve all ethical problems that arises, no matter how complex or how the situation might present itself. No matter how strictly you follow this code of ethics, it does not guarantee or the fact that it can resolve all ethical issues. So that is where you as a social worker need to demonstrate your competence. And I promised that as we proceed, we will shed light on this, right? So Code of Ethics just set forth values, ethical principles, and ethical standards which professionals need to follow. So social workers' ethical behavior should not result from their personal commitment to engage in ethical practice, right? So as a social worker, your ethical behavior should not be as a result of your own personal commitment to engage in ethical practice, but it should be based on what the profession, the code of ethics that guides the profession dictates, what is expected of you. So you now see why yesterday I was emphasizing that as a social worker, you should be able to practice in a way that it's obvious. It will be obvious to people that yes, you are a social worker. That is how we also demonstrate competence. Now, why the need for ethical behavior? Can't someone wake up, go to work, do your work, and come back? Must we subject ourselves to some ethical code while practicing social work? Well, these are the following reasons why it is good to subject ourselves to the ethical code. If anything you do or anywhere you find yourself, as far as you're practicing social work, just have it at the top of your mind that you're expected to solve a problem. The social work profession, AB Initio, is wired towards solving a problem. It's a problem-solving profession. So, for you to be able to solve people's problem, you must follow some set established rules. Yes. Social workers comes across varied and complex institutions or situations. So sometimes the situation at hand might even be strange to you, but what will help you to navigate through the hurdles, the curves associated with that challenging situation you're faced with, or you're trying to handle in the course of your relationship with your client. The code of ethics will help set those guidelines, will help you to put things in perspectives, help you to act morally in difficult situations. For example, it's in your culture to talk to people, both people from same sex or opposite sex. It's not a problem. You were raised up that way. And that does not mean people do not have their own culture that shapes their own lifestyle, that also influence their behaviors, either health-seeking behaviors and other aspects of their lifestyle. Now, following the ethical principles can help us to pipe low, to understand people as we meet them at their point of need and tailor our intervention in line with their worldviews. Not just necessarily telling them, oh, you don't want me to help you, you will die now. That's not social work. Yes, granted, we have the key or the solution to people's problem, but that does not make us arrogant or nonchalant. We still care for the people, about the people. The fact that we want to help them does not mean we need to help them the way we like. We need to help them the way they like or the way they need to be helped. In fact, I was talking to someone some time ago, and I tried to explain the situation this way. You see, most times the issues people have in relationships is not because they don't love themselves, but because they don't love their couples or their partners the way their partners want them to love them. Okay, I will explain that. Sometimes there are some persons that naturally they are clingy. They want you to be around. But because of your job description, you're not always around. But you want to use money to fill in that gap. That person's love language might not necessarily be money. So you on the other end, you're giving this woman or your husband money or your wife money, does not mean in your mind you love her. That's why you're giving her money. But that's not how she wants to be loved. And you'll see that the problem will still present itself because you're not speaking her language. In the same vein, in a professional relationship, if you really truly want to help people, you must help them the way they can be assisted in a language they understand. And for you to be assisted to do that, there is need for ethical behavior, because the situation we find ourselves sometimes can be very dicey, can be very tempting, can be manipulated. So there's need for ethical behavior. I would explain that as we proceed. So the need for such behavior in social work is important because during interaction with clients and their significant others, you might be exposed to some sensitive information. Yes. Have you been in a situation whereby you're exposed to some kind of sensitive, classical information that you can't even sleep, and you'll be wondering or you'll be regretting, why did I even hear this? Or why did I even see this? I would have been better off not seeing this or hearing this. So sometimes the information we are exposed to, the conditions and situations we are exposed to might make us restless. So there is need for ethical behavior to keep things in check. Some of us, naturally, they will tell you, some of us will say, or some persons will always say, that is how I'm created. My own, if I see something, I talk them the way it be. I think we're beginning to understand it now. So it's not about how you were created. As a professional social worker, there is need to develop this ethical behavior that will help you keep things in perspective, to avoid malpractice suits or legal liabilities later in the future. Social workers are often in situations where their decisions can cause serious damage. There is also need for ethical behavior because sometimes you can assist clients to make decisions that will be detrimental to their future. So how do you make decisions? Do you weigh them? Do you scale them? Based on your emotions? Based on what you think? And I made mention of something yesterday. Remember, in all your engagements with your clients, going forward, it is subject to scrutiny, be it now or in the future. Let's say immediately you're licensed, you have a case that has to do with a dysfunctional family, and they've been having issues for the past 6 years, and from your body language and the innuendos you're sending, the message you're sending directly or indirectly, you're trying to convince the partners to go their separate ways. And probably on one of these occasions, you've made a statement, a direct statement, or you sent a message that was captured and saved somewhere. Maybe after adhering to or listening to your advice and the client decided to separate, and years later, especially women now, probably what she felt, maybe she thought after separation or divorce, I can have another man come my way. After all, I'm still young. Maybe after 4 or 5 years, nobody's around to get married to her. She becomes depressed, especially if the other partner has moved on. And what will be next or top of her mind will now be where to vent her anger or to transfer the aggression. And the low-hanging fruit will be you. You caused this. You put me in this situation. And once that is raised, there is every possibility of going back to trace what really transpired. There is always a body instituted by the professional social work body to investigate, to scrutinize practices, to see if the professional follows some laid down rules, procedures, and it will be totally out of place for a professional social worker to be saying, I felt or I settled for this decision because I felt or I thought. No, you're expected to quote some of these principles you leveraged on to arrive or to make an informed conclusion. What theory did you use to explain that? What models did you adopt? What principles did you follow? You had 2 or 3 options, you would have settled for one. Why did you settle for this decision? Why did you settle for this option? Ethical behaviors would help us to settle for the best option, and it will help us to give explanation as to why, a practical explanation, a reasonable one at that, as to why we settle for a particular decision. And that will go a long way in saving us from malpractice suits. So social workers occupy positions of authority and in governmental and non-governmental organizations. That's another reason why there is need for ethical behavior. I told us yesterday that there is power dynamics when it comes to our relationship with our clients. There exists a strong power dynamics. No matter how powerful, influential, or rich our clients are, but once they come to us for assistance, we are more powerful than them. Granted, the reason they come to us is because they know we can help them to come out of their disequilibrium. So technically, we are more powerful in that professional relationship than them. And as humans, come to think of it, whenever you have power, yes, so without ethical behaviors, it becomes difficult to keep your excesses in check. You see yourself abusing that professional relationship. You see yourself talking down at your client, on your clients, or taking advantage of your client, as the case may be. situations where you can, if your client is of opposite sex, you begin to make some advances, or you begin to ask for more that are not necessary, or you begin to introduce some kind of relationship. Mind you, is because you're a professional, and that relationship that you establish by virtue of this client coming to you is a professional relationship, and you're expected to sustain and maintain just that professional relationship. Now, introducing another relationship to that established relationship makes that relationship a dual relationship, which will definitely defeat expected to establish any other relationship apart from. If you ignore this, then it becomes difficult for you to sustain and maintain this professional relationship. We also find the responsibility of allocating resources, or we begin to see ourselves, and in such a case, there won't be equitable distribution of goods and services. So by your conduct, by your way of practice, you should be able to preserve, especially in countries like Nigeria, where the social work profession is still growing. So we need professionals to practice in a way that will make the profession accountable, to practice in a way that would build trust, will create a safe space. This will encourage people to come to us for assistance. Yes, I used to tell people that we are talking about social work and we want it to grow. That has been taken from us by virtue of we not having professionals around. And no matter how many numbers of social work we have, or we satisfied, or graduates, or that gets qualified every day, we can never have enough social workers in a particular country, because the society is dynamic. So we need social workers to demonstrate their competence and accountability. Now, we will come to understand this better when we begin to look at the principles of social work, right? We'll begin to look at when we consider the principles of social work, what highlighted applies. But talk about the purpose of ethics, the code of ethics. But I don't know, some of you, your mics are not muted. I don't know if you want to say something. Please, if you have any points to make, to avoid forgetting your points, it's either you write it down or you just type it and saying, let me see it on the chat section and I will read it out and address your question, okay? All right, so let's now look at the purpose of Code of Ethics. The National Association of Social Work Code of Ethics serves 6 purposes. 1, the Code of Ethics helps us to identify the core values on which social work's mission is based. Yes. We have core values of social work, and there are 6 in number. There are 6 in number. So we would, as we proceed, we will look into these 6 core values. But just know that these core values of social work, and these core values of, in fact, whatever you're doing, a mentally retarded person, even or maybe you're helping some group of persons to go free from addiction and the rest, you must identify, it must fall You're expected, your intervention is expected, without which what you're doing is not social work. So the code of ethics helps us to identify this group of core values. And the second reason is that the code summarizes broad principles. There are some principles that are very broad. So code of ethics help us to summarize them, to minimize them in a way that reflect the profession's core values and publishes a set of specific ethical standards that should be used to guide social work practice. Earlier on yesterday, we talked about ethical dilemma. There are sometimes you'll be faced with two conflicting opinions that are right, but you have the duty as a professional to settle for one and help the client to settle for one. So there are some situations that principles might apply, but it might be too broad. But ethical principles will help us to break it down in a way be assisted. Now, the code of ethics is also designed to help social workers identify relevant considerations when professional. 4, the code of ethics provides ethical standards to which the general public can hold the social work profession. The code of ethics, they know what is expected of the professional social workers. And this was deliberate to ensure that social workers practice within the established rules. So that by the time you're not doing that, even someone, a non-professional, can easily identify that you're not doing social work. So by so doing, it makes us accountable. The code of ethics also socializes social workers or the professionals to new field of social work. You see, social work is not just a lone profession. We rely heavily on other professions. We try to see how we work with other professions, bring them together in resolving problems in the society. For example, we said earlier that the social work profession is a problem-solving profession. Let's assume you go to a community and the community to road, or probably you go to this community resources, but yet they are poor. We have a lot of communities, probably because of their culture of marrying more than 5 wives and having multiple children. And you identify that as a problem as a social worker. And you're now trying to see how you can help them to adopt birth control, family planning. But then you're not a traditional birth attendant, you're not a midwife, you're not a nurse, you're not a medical doctor. What do you do as a social worker? It's to identify professionals. Sometimes they come under some NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Sometimes members of that communities who are in that field are the low-hanging fruit you can bring to the table and help with your skills in human relationship, bring them together, help them to see the identified problem and let them know that, okay, fine, you can handle this aspect, you can handle this aspect, you can handle this aspect. So in the end, you might not as a social worker see yourself directly working with the people. You might be managing these professionals while they assist the community members. So you see that the code helps us to with other practitioners. It also in a professional relationship. And finally, the code of ethics articulates standards that social workers and the social work profession itself can be used to assess whether social workers have engaged in unethical behavior. Yes, I said earlier that the social work professional has a professional body, a body scrutinizing unethical conduct among professionals. So the code of ethics provides these standards that helps professional itself to assess whether social workers or social work professionals have gone beyond the expanded boundaries of the code. So we see that the code of ethics is very important, and the importance of following it can never be overemphasized as social workers. So we need to understand all of this. So the next point we'll be highlighting in our class would be the difference between values and ethical principles, as well as the core values of social work, like I said earlier. And there are 6, right? But before we proceed, please, I would like to entertain, or I would like to welcome questions from you before we proceed. Please feel free to ask. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. I want to believe I can be heard clearly. Can you hear me? Hello?
It's cracking.
Hello?
I don't know, maybe I'm the only one.
At least I'm here. This is serious. So does it mean I've been
No,
talking
sir,
to
the thing
myself?
is cracking. My own side is cracking very, very bad. But
Likewise,
here.
myself. But I can hear you now.
Well, it's okay. We can manage.
It's cracking.
I think it's the network. It's cracking on my own side here too.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. And you didn't bother to indicate. You would have said something, possibly.
I thought it was my service here, maybe network.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. So I was asking if we have any question
Yes.
based on our discussion, based on what I've said.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Okay,
please
sir.
ask.
My name is Omona Malin Daniel. I want you to throw more light on ethical dilemma. I want to be more clear in that area, sir.
Oh. Okay, thank you. I can see the hand of Nasiru.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon,
Nasiru,
sir.
please speak.
Well, good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well done, sir. Oh,
You're welcome.
my question is that, at the course of your lecture, you said there are bodies that scrutinize professional decision practice and things like that. I will want to know. I would like to know the name of these bodies. 1, 2. I want to know how effective they are, because there are cases, you mentioned some scenarios that sometimes at the course of our practice, we might help a client to make some decision, and thereafter the client might look back and probably transfer a sort of aggression back to us based on the situation of things that surround that case, that we are likely to blame us, that we are the reason for the decision she made, and which is bringing a regret to her. And I discovered that because of working with some agency, probably at the cause of our practicums, I've seen a lot of cases like that. That I discover most of the people. I want to know the people working in some of the social welfare agencies. Are they professionals? Is their activities being scrutinized? Because I discover most of the decisions that have been made at my present is always awkward. It's not ethically based, it's not ethically backed up, it doesn't really reflect any form of social work. It's not guided by social work principle. And for me to hear that there is a body that scrutinized this, I think I'm interested and I want to know more.
Okay. Thank you very much. The first question, you said you want me to shed more light on ethical dilemma, because we'll get to a point where I will really need to explain that. Okay, as we proceed in our class,
Okay, sir.
we'll get to a stage where we'll be talking about ethical dilemma, and I will use that opportunity to explain better. Right,
Okay,
but
sir.
for meantime, just to whet your appetite, I said ethical dilemma is a situation where you're caught between the deep blue sea and the devil, right?
Okay, sir.
You have two conflicting opinions. These two opinions are right. I will cite an example. You have these clients, and this is the reason why I said we should wait, but let me just say it right. One of the principles of social work is confidentiality.
Okay,
And from
sir.
the offshoot, confidentiality means that if your client tells you something, you're not expected to tell another person. That would be breach of the principle of confidentiality in social work profession. I don't know if you get the point.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now it becomes a dilemma in a case where you, as a social worker, is being told by your clients that I am contemplating suicide. And even in my your very before, the client went as far as getting a sniper or a gun and tells you, immediately you leave here, I will end it all. And because you want to adhere to the principle of confidentiality, you decided to keep quiet. That is wrong. Now, it is a dilemma in the sense that if you keep quiet, you are adhering to the principle of confidentiality, which is not wrong, right? If you still
Okay.
speak out, you're still demonstrating your competence as a professional social worker because it is right. Going by the laws of the land, suicide is a criminal offense. And if you watch someone committing suicide without taking appropriate steps to protect or prevent that person from committing suicide, you can be considered to be an accomplice. I don't know if you get the point.
Yes, I do.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
what
sir.
you're expected to do at that material time is to work with the client, help the client not to nurse such thoughts, and still report to the appropriate law enforcement agency to address that issue. If possible, to have where he or she can continue to receive support, psychosocial support, till when he or she is stabilized. That is how that
That's
client can be helped.
Thank you, sir.
Another example could be working with a minor, and this minor, although an underage, not up to 20 or 18 years, she has committed multiple abortions. And as a result of those abortions, she is having complications. And you are saying that because of the principle of confidentiality, you don't want to.
No, sir, I'm not hearing anything again. No.
Same here.
Hello.
We can't hear
Same
you
here. I'm
anymore.
not hearing you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear you, sir?
In transmission, I was knocked off. I hope I can be heard.
We can't hear you anymore, sir.
Can you hear me?
No, sir, we can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me
The last
now?
thing we had is abortion, somebody committing abortion repeatedly. A child that committed abortion repeatedly. That was the last thing.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's better.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
better.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
I was saying that another scenario could be working with an underage girl who is not up to 18, but had gone through multiple abortions, and this abortion has resulted to some kind of complications. But this client is trying to hide this from the parents. And because as a social worker, you're trying to uphold the principle of confidentiality, you're now saying you're not going to tell the parents. What if that client now in the process dies, and before dying, she managed to drop a note? Mommy, daddy, I'm sorry I disappointed you. I tried my best to keep living, keep going without telling you because I never wanted you to feel disappointed in me. My social worker was also aware, but we could not help it. I'm sorry, please forgive me. What do you think will happen to you as a social worker once the parents stumble on such notes? Definitely you'll be in trouble. So you knew all this while and you could not tell us to see how we can put efforts together to help this child. In fact, it is even believed, or as a social worker, there's one framework we adopt, right? That help us to tailor our intervention based on people's environment, right? So the parents too can also be part of the therapeutic process. So you tailor them or you factor them in. Mind you, we're trying to address the question or expand your understanding of ethical dilemma. So when you're faced
Yes,
with two conflicting opinions that are right, to choose the one that will be more beneficial to the client requires that you follow some ethical principles screen that we will consider as we proceed in our class. I hope that addresses your question.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Now, to quickly address the second question, I hope the the student that asked that question is still with us. Hello, the candidate that asked that question, is he or she still with us? Can I be heard? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
I can
Yes,
yes.
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
We can hear
I
you.
hear you, sir.
Okay. The second
We can hear
question
you.
was if we have a body. Yes, ideally, both at national and state level, we're supposed to have an exclusive body that is supposed to be responsible or saddled with the responsibility of scrutinizing social work activities within the state and the entire country. But like I said earlier, social work is a growing profession in Nigeria, and we lack those bodies for now. But on a lighter note, we still have head of departments and some units in various agencies where we have social work departments. You can still be called to question when there is evidence of malpractice suits or breach in following most of the principles of social work. But ideally, we're supposed to have it established. But for now, we don't have it established and pronounced, possibly because we are yet to inaugurate the Council of Social Work. So, but we have the law to go ahead to inaugurate it. Maybe once we succeed in inaugurating having that Council of Social Work, there will definitely be a body under the Council of Social Work that will be saddled with the responsibility of scrutinizing interventions of social work in the country. For now, what we have is we have license and approval to train social workers and to license social workers. Once that body is instituted, there will definitely be a unit under it that will be saddled with the responsibility of calling the attentions of social workers who directly or indirectly breach the principles and ethics of the profession, and definitely they will be held accountable. But that does not mean that at this point, social workers are expected to practice without consideration to these principles, because you can still be exposed to malpractice suits. For example, these codes are there. By the time you breach them, a client can, apart from the social work body scrutinizing your practice, a client can directly sue you. Yes, a client can directly sue you. The reason for that social work body, ethical body, to scrutinize you is for the doctrine, for the purpose of doctrine of ripeness, a situation whereby it's just like in the police or in the military. Once a military personnel is alleged to have committed a crime, before such a person can be tried in the conventional court, there will be a court martial set up for that person to try the person internally before the person will be tried outside. So the purpose for that social work, which that internal trial, the verdict, the judgment of that internal trial would also be part of the documents the conventional court is going to rely on. So the purpose for this internal body will be, okay, fine, this social worker is suspected to have committed a crime in the process of his professional relationship with his client, and this professional body will need to sit and look into the matter and make a judgment. So if the client is still want to push with the case, what the social workers or the professional body will do is, depending on the severity of the matter, either to withhold your license or suspend you, and then the criminal aspects of your misconduct will now be handled by a conventional court, where you can either be sentenced to prison or given some fines to pay. So the fact that those bodies are not on ground for now does not mean a social worker is free to practice without consideration. I hope that addresses your question.
To an extent, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. You said to an extent. So where do you have issues?
I think the issue I'm having is concerning the staffs, the people working. Is it that this same body, they scrutinize if those people working at this agency, are they professionals? Because
okay,
I can easily tell that most of what is it?
Yes, I can hear. I think I skipped this part of the question. Probably that's why you said to some extent, right? Now, you see, like I said earlier, we are yet to have the Council of Social Work inaugurated. Now, it is this Council of Social Work that would now serve, that is expected, or that is supposed to serve as the task force, or that is supposed to establish a task force that will go about to screen people who are working as social workers when they are not social workers. I don't know if you get the point. So now the best most of them can do is to come and receive training and be licensed so that they can practice as social workers. For now, that task force is not there. And that is why you see, I agree with you. Up to 70 to 80% of most of the persons working in this NGO or these agencies that are supposed to be manned by social workers are not professionals. Even though you're not a social worker, once you go there, you will notice these persons are not doing the right thing. This is because they are not professionals. It's a sad situation. And that is why we are trying to up our game to train more of social workers to man these rules. Because going forward, people can no longer access these rules without them being licensed. And we are driving towards that very soon. I hope that is clear.
Thank you, sir. Yes,
All right.
I think it's very, very clear now. I can get that.
Okay. Yeah, considering our time, I don't know, it's possible you have another class, right?
Yes, by 4.
It's like you have another class. Okay.
Yes, by 4.
It's by 4.
By 4.
Okay. Let's see if we can put in more 20 minutes, right? Would that be fine?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Let's see how we can. Let's proceed with the core values and ethical principles of social work. We've been talking about the ethical principles, core values, and the code of conduct. It is now time for us to identify these principles. Hello, I can see the hand of Ogechi up.
Yes, sir. So sorry, I actually want to ask this, and I hope I'm not taking the class backward.
No, you're free. Please ask.
Okay, sir. When you during the course of the lecture, you do mention ethical codes, ethical principles. Is there any relationship, or are they different in total? I don't really get it. If ethical principle is always called an ethical conduct, yes. If they are two different terms.
Yes, they are different. We have now understand these three different concepts, and they are different, and not like they work or they function independently. No, they are intertwined. In fact, one cannot work on its own. The other perfects another, or one perfects the other. They perfect themselves. Now, we have ethical codes. We have principles of social work, and we have the core values. So first, I would like you to identify these core values. Then we will now identify the principles of social work. And we will now use the ethical code to explain how this can be understood and applied.
Okay,
So there
sir,
are
now I get
three
it, sir. That means
okay.
principles of social work can also be regarded as ethical principles.
Yes, to some extent, some of the principles might be sounding like the ethical principle. No, we have the principles of social work are ethical principles. Yeah, like you rightly say. Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, yeah, I got it now.
All right. So
It's okay, sir.
now, like I said earlier, we have just 6. Hello, are you saying
Yes,
anything?
I'm
Are you
with you,
saying?
sir.
Okay, okay. Please, you can bring down your hand. Okay, better. All right. So we have 6 core values that makes up social work. 6 core values are like the foundation that makes up social work. Now, what are these core values? Note that the mission of social work profession is rooted in this set of core values. I clearly mentioned earlier that if you see yourself practicing social work outside the expanded boundaries of these core values, then what you're doing is not social work. Some persons go about doing philanthropy and they feel because they are doing humanitarian service, they are doing social work. No. The fact that you like giving arms to people does not mean you're a social worker, does not make you a social worker. Today, almost all the politicians in Nigeria, they've added philanthropists to their names. That does not make them social workers. Because whenever they want to do campaign, they go buy bags of rice, gari, and whatever to the people in the villages. Doesn't make them social workers. Because you're solving a problem does not make you a social worker. Because to be a social worker, you must solve a problem scientifically and professionally. So there are professional ways of solving a problem, and that calls to mind the saying, teach us how to fish and not always giving us fish. And I will say this, for example. You meet this group of persons that are hungry. There is a reason why they are hungry. It's not because the hunger is passive. And this hunger, from your observation, you've noticed that it is not just the normal, regular, or natural type of hunger. You could see the hunger written all over them. Like since day before yesterday, they've not had good food to eat. And it's because they are deprived. They don't have access to food. They are poor. And you, because you feel you want to solve a problem, you now decided to go and buy them food. Yes, once you buy them food, give them food, they will eat. And once they eat, because they are satisfied and okay, that headache they were having because of the hunger would vanish temporarily. You see them smiling and you'll be happy that you've solved the problem. Yes, at that moment you solve a problem. But immediately you leave. And after 6 hours, when the food might have digested, that's when you will notice that you really did not solve a problem. The problem is still there. So that's the difference between a philanthropist and a social worker. We get to the root of the problem and not just touching the problem or romanticizing with the problem on the surface. We get rid of the problem from its roots. And this intervention is based on these core values that must be seen through all the stages of your intervention with your client during the course of your professional relationship. And one of it is service to humanity. How does this come to play? As a social worker, you should understand that the social work profession is based on rendering service to humanity. So if you're trickling it down, if you're to break it down to your level of intervention, you should always have it in the back of your mind that as a social worker, one of the core values is to render services to humanity. And that must be seen in your relationship with clients. That thing you're doing for people, is it to render service to humanity? I will still bring this explanation or this illustration back to you to help us really understand this, so that you know that the fact that you're helping people does not mean you're actually doing that with the right motive, or you're rendering service to humanity. You're a politician, you go to your village, and because you know next year is election, you begin to share food. Or let's not even talk about politician. You want to be women leader, or you want to be the youth leader, youth chairman, president in your community, and you begin to do one or two things, that covet that has been in your community for a very long time, because you want to be the youth leader, it's now time for you to do it. Just because you want people to consider you as the youth leader, you went and fixed it. Fine, granted, that covet you're fixing, that drainage you're fixing, is solving a problem. It's a service to humanity, because you never ask anybody to pay for it. You're doing it from your own pocket. But what happened immediately after you succeeded in getting the youth presidency, CEO, or whatever? The first 6 months, your effort will be geared toward recovering the money you used in making that bridge. That is no longer service to humanity. So you see that some of these things are not necessarily clear, or these are things, that is why we talked about ethical behavior earlier on. This can be traced to your motives for doing something. It's not just about the act in itself. What's the driving force? What's your interest? So if your interest is for self-aggrandizement or to bring undue attention to yourself, to achieve something other than service to humanity, then you're not practicing social work. And why am I taking time to explain this? You might be in a position to challenge people who come to pretend to be social workers when you actually know their motives. So it's high time for people to present themselves for who they are, instead of presenting themselves to be what they are not, thereby bringing a bad image to the social work profession. So if you're rendering service to humanity, let it be service to humanity without any ulterior motive. This can be extended to every stage or within a broader scope of social work intervention, to whatever extent you want to feel is. The second value or core value is social justice. Yes, that thing you're pushing for, is it geared toward pushing for social justice? Is it because you feel that, okay, fine, you're influential and you want to use your influence to coerce other persons to do things your own way? Is it socially justifiable? Because you feel it is right and you feel that everybody must do it, and you're using your influence to coerce people to do it, that is no longer social justice. So that means whatever you're doing, ask yourself, as a social worker, this intervention, this my professional relationship, is it geared toward pushing for social justice? The third core value is dignity and worth of a person. Yes. You see, hello? Hello? Okay, so the third point is dignity and worth of a person. Most of the times, the clients, the people we work with, come to us with a shattered sense of self-worth. They have nothing left. In fact, just like one voice reaction we used to have over the social media, most of them, they are so confused, they are dumbfounded, they are flabbergasted. They don't see anything good in them. They are depressed. They are shattered. But that does not mean that as social workers, we should still, directly or indirectly, make them feel worthless. So even when you have a good motive, your intervention is geared toward pushing for social justice, your intervention is geared toward rendering services to humanity, but then in the process of helping, you're running down the people, making them feel less humans. That is not social work. You must be able to make them feel human. You must be able to make them feel, empower them. In fact, one of the powerful tools in the hands of a social worker is empowerment. And one of the most effective way of empowering people is to empower them mentally. We see people as engineers in the course of helping them help themselves. That is why one of the definitions, according to Sipurin, of social work is the professional way of helping people to help themselves. We don't just help people, we help them help themselves. Because it is therapeutic and empowering in a sense. Someone comes to you and said, I can't do this, I can't achieve this, I'm worthless. And you're not telling them, you can do this. It's just that you've not known that you can do this. Okay, do this by yourself, do this by yourself. And the person begin to do that, follow your instruction, and you see the person recovering. That automatically sends a message to the person that, yes, I am not worthless as I think. I am not useless as I think. That is empowering. And that would also client to continue to go on even in your absence, because no matter what, or no matter the situation of your client, they will get to a time where there will be a termination of that professional relationship. You will not always be with the client. They will get to a time where there will be a termination. So empowerment or empowering your clients mentally will help them when you're no longer in the picture for them to go on. And that begins with identifying their worths, dignifying them, helping them to know that yes, there is strength, inherent strength in them, and that is based on the strength perspective that explains or that states that no matter how weak people are, there are still some inherent strengths in them that can be leveraged. In fact, within people, individuals, communities, and organizations, surrounding them by opportunities. Surrounding them by opportunities. Hello, Hakeem. Hakeem, kindly mute your mic, please, Hakeem. Hello, Hakeem. Kindly mute your mic. So,
Hello,
most
hello,
times this clients.
hello,
Hello, who is speaking, please?
hello, hello,
Is this Hakeem?
hello, hello, sir.
Yes. Please speak up. I can hear you. Please, can I be heard? Hello.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Maybe you should mute. Maybe you should mute Hakim then.
All right. So this is based on the strength perspective that no matter how weak or vulnerable people or your clients are, there are still some inherent strengths. There's still some strength lying within, either internally or within the client's environment, that the client, because of by virtue of his or her weakness and inability, is unable to leverage on those opportunities around. But as a professional with a third eye, you can see those opportunities and help your clients to assess those opportunities, using those opportunities to help themselves. The fourth core values of social work is importance of human relationship. Yes, there is no human that cannot be traced to a family. Even Jesus Christ, where we have the explanation from the Holy Book, Bible, that he was given birth to by Mary, although Mary never slept with any man. God still deemed it fit to pass through an existing family to bring his son to this world. So there is no human that came from the heaven. There is no alien with us. In fact, there is a saying that if you want to know that madman roaming the streets has people, touch that madman. The moment he has relatives. So as social workers, we emphasize the importance of human relationship and we leverage on those relationships to assist people. There is no human that can exist and function in isolation. That is why if you see a street child today and you're interested in helping that street child, one of the things you want to do is to ask, where are your parents? Or if you see an abandoned child close to a waste bin, one of the things you see people asking is, who is the mother and why is the mother so wicked? So as social workers, whatever problems we are or challenges, to see how we can censor relationships. Sometimes people find themselves in difficult situations because of dysfunctional relationships. So we identify that. So instead of going a long way in going as far as burning bridges, we build bridges, we establish networks, and create relationships that would bond people and heal as well as relieve pains that people are experiencing. And the fourth core values is integrity. Yes, we've been emphasizing this. This is where the ethics and the principle of social work is anchored. Integrity. You must practice in a way that shows that you are a person of integrity. As social workers, you must be you must be known to be someone that has integrity. People must trust you. You must not be double-tongued. Now, the ripple effects of you being known for as someone that has integrity will to make the public respect the profession, because the professionals or the practitioners are known to be people of integrity. You must also be competent. Exactly. So you must at all time practice with all level of competence. And like we established yesterday, one of the ways you can practice with competence is to continue to improve in learning new skills. And one of the ways you can do this is to attend programs like this, attend workshops, conferences, and also embark on research. You can also demonstrate your competence by referrals, knowing where and when to refer your clients to receive appropriate care. So that is what we have for today's class. And I think we've been able to achieve a lot. And finally, in the aspect of competence, as social workers, you should also know that you have a responsibility to your colleague. You cannot leave the profession without leaving a footprint, a positive one at that. So you must also contribute to knowledge based on the profession, based on your experience, rather. So that means as time goes on, you're expected to write books. And that is why, as part of this training, you'll be expected to demonstrate your competence via. So you'll be placed in groups where you'll be given opportunity to choose a topic, and you'll be placed under a supervisor that will go through your research topic, your seminar topic, and will guide you in writing it. And in the end, you'll be given opportunity to make a presentation. So that's one of the ways you can demonstrate your competence, because by the time you write seminar topics like this seminar will be published so that upcoming generations can look into what you've been able to write and learn from your wealth of experience. By so doing, you'll be able to fulfill your responsibility to your colleague. As we progress, we'll come to understand various levels of social workers' responsibility to the client and even to the professional environment. So that is where we come to the end of our class today. When we meet next time, we'll be looking at ethical principles screen according to Lewinberg and Dockloff. Now, to give us an overview of what this ethical principles screen is all about so that we can think about it before our next class. Now, this ethical principles screen is just there, or was just introduced to help us address ethical dilemmas, address situations that are complex where ethical principles cannot address. Now, perspective, what we should need to consider of utmost importance and what should be shoved aside so as to help address the client's problem at the nick of time. So that is what it's all about. So at your spare time, you can as well go through it so that our class will be interactive as usual when we meet next time. But meanwhile, I have a challenge. I would like to appeal to us. Next weekend, I won't be available. Next weekend, I won't be available. But I will be available on Monday. I will be available on Tuesday. The reason I won't be available is because where I will be traveling to, I'm not sure. There's no network. There's no stable network there. MTN network. I'm using MTN. So of my availability on Saturday and Sunday next.
Can't we have the class before you travel?
I'll be traveling on Friday morning.
Monday and Friday. Monday and Thursday. Maybe you should.
That's why I'm bringing it up. So You can agree among yourselves and reach out to me privately between tomorrow and Thursday. You can choose a date.
Okay, sir.
And when you're choosing, you either choose 2 days or you choose a day, 1 day, but we have to make it 2 hours to cover up for the 2 days. I don't even understand. Is that clear? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Hello?
Hello,
Yeah,
sir.
Hello.
Can you
Yes,
hear me?
it's clear. Yeah.
yes, we can hear you.
I
But
was
sir,
I was saying that.
I think this is the okay.
Hello, what did you say?
Hi,
Yes,
sir.
I said,
I
sir.
think this is the right time to discuss it so that we
I
can
said, like me, Loretta, I'm on leave. So any day is okay by me, but I can't say because of others. So people are going to work. But I would have preferred we do it before, maybe between now and Thursday. Any 2 hours is okay. Maybe after work, maybe by 6 to 8. Or
We are doing it since it will be a working day. Let's make it in the evening. I don't mind
yes,
between 6 and 8.
beautiful. It's okay by me. But I don't know about
All
others,
right,
so I don't
all
want to
right.
be
6 and
So
8.
selfish.
6
we are
and 8 is
we are
okay.
choosing if we are choosing if we are choosing a day, if we are choosing one day, because ideally we're supposed to meet Saturday and Sunday, 1 hour. So if we are choosing one day, let's make it 2 hours. But we are choosing 2 days. That means we are making it 1 hour each. But I would advise we make it one day, 2 hours.
Yes.
Let's know we are done for. Someone asked a question. Yusuf Idris said, Sir, is confidentiality not part of the core values? No. We have just 6 core values. Confidentiality is a principle, not a core value.
Okay.
So when we meet next time, after considering the ethical principles screen, we will now consider the principles of social work, which confidentiality is part of. Yusuf, I
Yes,
want to
sir.
believe you can hear me.
We
Sir,
can hear you.
Yes.
I just want to appeal to the house that we should consider Salah period though, when we want to choose the day that we have to have the remaining.
Okay. Oh my
Please
God,
And
it's
consider the
true.
Salah period.
and
Salah
and
is
and it,
when, please?
and it's
Is
even
that
it's even the reason
Thursday,
why
Thursday or
it's even the
Friday?
reason why huh?
Yes, it's this week, Thursday or Friday.
So we better choose Wednesday.
Let's choose that
Wednesday
even
6
tomorrow. Monday is okay. Monday
or
or Tuesday.
tomorrow.
Our
Yes.
lecturer said when he's out of the service for that Monday that you will not have access
He
to
did
the
not say
service.
Monday. He said weekend. He will
Weekend.
be
He said
available
weekend.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay,
Let's choose
please.
We
Monday.
can go by Monday. Monday is okay.
Monday is okay.
Monday is
Beautiful.
okay in the evening after
Beautiful.
work.
Beautiful.
Some of us
Beautiful.
are going
Monday,
to
sir. 6
What
to 8.
time? What
Six
Monday,
to
time?
sir.
8. 6 to 8.
6 to 8.
hello, please. Some of us are going
Please,
to
can't
work.
we have it 7? And some of us.
Can I
Hello?
speak, please? Can I speak,
Okay,
please?
see what
Hello,
will happen.
please.
Hello, please. Hello,
Yeah,
hello.
please.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello,
sir.
Yeah.
please. Um, please. Let's not extend this. This is a recorded version of your class. Okay. So I want to believe you have a separate WhatsApp group apart from the one we have here.
We don't have.
We don't know.
You don't have.
It's
No.
not hard, though.
That
Okay,
is the
please.
issue.
Will Tuesday be fine? Tuesday
Yes,
evening,
sir.
Yes,
please.
Tuesday.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And for the sake of those that will be going to work, let's make it. I think will 6 be fine? I think by 6 we should be back from work.
Or 8.
No.
Or let's shift it
Can
to
we
okay.
make
Can we make
it
it 7?
8.
Yes,
8.
7 will be
7
okay.
is okay because of
7
All right.
is okay.
So
Yes.
in the afternoon.
let's work with Tuesday by 7 p.m.
Okay,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes, it's okay.
Thank
Take care. Take
Thank
care
you,
and
sir.
enjoy the rest of.
Same here
Thank
to
you,
you,
Okay,
sir.
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 Thank you.
So please, Loretta.
Sir?
Hello, Madam Loretta.
Sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Please, kindly remind Mr. Osijiri Shegun on the platform to create a WhatsApp a Zoom link for Tuesday.
That's Mr. Atere or somebody.
No,
7 to
it's
9. Tuesday, 7.
you will see that particular number that used to post the Zoom link.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Let him create a Zoom meeting link for Tuesday.
Between 7 and 9, right?
Yes, between 7 and 9, yeah.
Yes.
All right, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.